Hey everyone, welcome to our small footprint. My name is Nyssa, and if you're new here, we are a family of 8 who live off-grid in Australia. I have been absent again, so I've been meaning to do a little bit of a chat video and haven't been able to, partly because the kids brought a cold home, so I'm a little congested. I feel like I sound okay to record, but I've had a few days there where it wouldn't have been pleasant. So I've got some voiceovers to do for food, but again, I had put them off because of my tone and things like that. So I have been meaning to do a bit of a chat video, and I really just haven't known how to go about it. So at the moment, part of the absence is that I'm going to launch the shop hopefully on Sunday, Monday, maybe. I opened up the website today, so I refurbed the whole website and got everything going. The shop isn't live yet, but the website's up, but there's only like half a dozen recipes on there. I'm adding them as I go, so just about everything on the website should go somewhere, except for some of the categories for recipes, because I just don't have enough recipes up there. I am working on the brioche roll recipe at the moment because I've had a few people ask. I showed them on Facebook, I think, and I've got a recording of it that I'll share over the next week, but a bunch of people have asked me about that recipe, so I've got that I've got it open on my screen at the moment inside, so I'm doing that, but the website's open. So we've been doing lots of sample products and trying to get things photographed and stuff like that, but it's also started to warm up. The nights are still getting down to 5 degrees, so I still am struggling with a few things in planting wise, but also my sourdough's not working because it's too cold at night time. But during the days it is very pleasantly warm, which is really nice. So we've got the gardens going. On the way back through, I'll show you what we did with the garden covers. We did 2 iterations. One isn't going to work, one will. It's just going to be a lot of effort to get it to go, you know, to build enough of them. So we'll probably only end up with a few this year, and then I might just use a lot of the fallow beds that can't have covers for flowers and things like that. We'll see how we go. We're behind the 8 ball again, as always. We were going to get the guy out to do the levelling off where we were putting the back patio last weekend, but it rained, so he couldn't come. So he's supposed to be coming tomorrow, I think, because it's Friday at the moment. So hopefully we'll see him tomorrow. We'll get that leveled off, and then we can start with that. We've already got the feet and the joists and everything for that. We just can't put it down because it's not level enough, and we just don't have the gear to be able to level it off. So he's also going to clear some space. We take the ute in to take the hay and stuff to the chicken pens, but at the moment we have to reverse it back out, which isn't much fun. So we're going to create a little bit of a turnaround for that too. What else is going on? So this is just going to be a bit of all over the place. That's some of the updates. The other thing we were going to talk about was my health and impacts on the homesteading and things like that. Now, I tried to make some notes and it wasn't going to work, so we're just going to have my normal squirreling ramble, and people want to watch it can watch it. So when we moved out here, we partially moved out because Darryl had a mental breakdown. That was part of it. We used to own franchises. They fell apart. Darryl's mental health fell apart. Being able to purchase the property that we were renting then fell apart because we didn't have the businesses anymore. We had previously purchased this block as a weekender or a holiday home with a maybe later on, maybe in the distant future, moving out here. And in the end, we had to do that. So part of Darryl's breakdown and everything else was, I think, partially because I was sick. So I have trigeminal neuralgia, and I was diagnosed when Kavik was a baby, and he is 8 now. I got diagnosed by a neurologist then and got MRIs and all that sort of thing, and then had to start a bunch of different medications. Now, the medications for trigeminal neuralgia are not very nice. There's a few of them, Tegretol, Lyrica, gabapentin, and things like that. I ended up on Tegretol, and it's just a really unpleasant drug to take. It made me foggy, like it makes you unable to collect words, like it makes your mental capacity is inhibited by it. Everything is just fuzzy, and I hated it, absolutely hated it. So I weaned myself off that and tried some other drugs, but in the meantime I ended up having some serious attacks, some hospitalizations, and some just really significant health turns. And I think that that was partly impacting Darryl as well. So then when everything fell apart, we moved out here. And then we moved out here, and I've changed my medication since then. I'm on something completely different now. I'm not on any of those ones that seem to impact my mental acuity at all. So I still have some problems with thinking of words, and I still have some issues, neurological issues that are related to it, because it's a pain condition. It's a chronic pain condition that never goes away, and it's no matter what medication I'm taking, I'm always in pain. It's just different levels of pain that happen depending on the medication and other general well-being. So once we moved out here, though, I stopped having the major attacks. So part of that was being able to not have to leave the house, not have to it's like the grocery shopping, not having to go and do grocery shopping every week, every fortnight, and all that sort of stuff, and battle the crowds with 6 kids, which is how I used to do it previously. I'll put a quick photo here. This was a very regular occurrence of grocery shopping when we used to live in Metro. So we moved out here, and that improved, but Darryl, if anything, probably got worse, and they say that that's what happens, because all of a sudden all the pressure is taken off, a bit like they say that children play up worse at home than they do at school, because then they're in their comfort zone. So we had a couple of pretty horrific years there, of Darryl recovering and trying to establish ourselves here with very small children. The kids were only 2, 3, 3, 4, 6 and 10, I think. And we didn't have any resources because we hadn't intended to move out here. It had happened just at the drop of a hat. It had just had to happen. We didn't have any choice. So we had very minimal infrastructure set up, and we were, doing it by the seat of our pants. And I really wish I had have been in a position to do YouTube back then, because being able to look back at it then, I look back at photos and stuff now and just think it's amazing how far we've come, and yet so much further to go. So part of what I wanted to discuss, so we come to the health issues now. So I think that a lot of the health issues now are basically the health issues that I had before we moved out, and I had this reprieve because life settled down, and we had a new normal and that, and now there's a lot more stresses. There's the fact that the kids cost more, which is fine. That's what happens. We chose to have 6 children, and that's life. But the kids cost more, not even for their wants, because I'm not a big person on catering to wants as such, but education-wise, we had to buy computers for everyone, and food-wise, they're eating more food, and they have a bit more preferences now rather than before, and things like that. So there is a factor in that, but there's also a factor in the fact that as the kids have gotten older, they've required more space, and so that has impacted our costs and things like that too. It's like the solar. Our solar capacity at the moment, we end up having to run a generator pretty much every second night because we just cannot maintain power with just the system that we have. We have a secondary solar system, that's what I'm under here, except that the inverter blew up and it's being replaced on actually got refunded because it got replaced on warranty twice and still died, and we just got a new one, but the new one requires an extra safety switch, which I forgot to buy. So anyway, so we do have this secondary solar, which does help, and we have the Jackery that was gifted to me for doing the video on it, and that definitely helps as well, except that the Jackery still has to be charged, so it has to be charged from some sort of a solar source to be able to be used, but it works for night time because the kids run all their computers on that, and then that way it's not working the main system, which has all the fridges and freezers. But also at this time of year, it has all the heat mats for the seedlings, the heat mats for the baby chicks, and all that sort of stuff as well. So that another stressor for things changing and stuff like that. We're also having a few issues with different children because you have 6 children and personalities and choices and all the rest of it, and it always makes it hard. So we've got a few issues going on with a couple of the kids, which again adds a stressor. So at the moment, some of the things that have been going on with me, so when I went down to do the grocery shop last time, I had some massive issues with my blood pressure. Now, I've had that issue previously. It was before we moved out here. I was hospitalized once before with basically the same symptoms. and same reactions. So like when I stood up, my blood pressure jumped way up high, pulse went way up high, and I just about passed out and things like that. And I had that before as well. So now we did a whole bunch of blood tests and things like that, and nothing has come back as bouncing as anything important. I've got a couple of things to go, a sleep study and a renal Doppler to do, which I'll do when I go down for the next grocery trip, because I will pick up the sleep study stuff and then I'll drive it back and things like that. So I'll do those as well. And I've got some continual glucose, one of those continual glucose monitors that I'm going to put on my arm for a fortnight, that I got discounted for just the one for a fortnight. But my blood sugars seem to be fine on every other test. It's just another sort of a diagnostic. So I got myself a watch to track heart rate and things like that, and my sleep and stuff. So we're just monitoring it for now. But I think a lot of it is that there's a few more stressors. So that sort of comes back to what we were discussing, the whole balance and how you manage with the chronic conditions. We've got large family, we've got homeschooling and all the rest of it, as well as a homestead. And I think a lot of that comes down to my common slogan that I always say, and that's progress, not perfection. And I know that a lot of people, especially people who don't watch a lot of my videos, who just pop into certain videos, have a lot of negative to say about the state of my property, or things like that, or the unfinished, or why haven't I done this, or why haven't I done that. And I think that I understand where they're coming from. I do, because wouldn't it be lovely to be able to do everything that you wanted to do when you wanted, like, straight away, sort of thing? But for us, in our situation, we are not well off, but we do okay. With the money that I earn from various different things, we do fine. But we still have to limit the tasks that we can do. So at the moment we've got the back patio stuff. So we went and bought the feet and the joists and stuff for the back patio, but we have to pay for the bulldozer as well to do that. Now I haven't got any roofing for that patio yet. I need to find it on Marketplace, some secondhand stuff. I've got the roofing for the kitchen. It was hail damaged insulated roofing that we got really cheap, but then we had to order the posts for the kitchen, and we got those, and then we had a ladder break, and so then we couldn't put the C-channel up to put the posts up to put the roofing up, so that hasn't happened either. And so there's just this continuous rolling task list, and we have to take on what we can take on when we can take it on. That doesn't necessarily mean that it gets done in a particularly good order, like in the most, an order that feels like it should. And sometimes we're flitting from task to task because you have to wait on things. So like, we wanted to do this back patio, but then we have to wait for the dozer guide to be available. So then we moved on to something else, but that, like or say the secondary solar. So we ordered the new inverter, except that then we went to install that and couldn't because we didn't have the safety switch. And then the garden beds, we were having issues that we couldn't figure out how we were going to do the hinging on it or things like that. So then we had to get some saddle clips to be able to do that. So there's all these different myriads of steps that are required to do each task. And it definitely feels like sometimes we're jumping from task to task without completing anything. It definitely feels like that. And I'm sure it shows. Like, I'm sure that that's how some people see, especially if they're only coming into, we got a fly running around the, flying everywhere. It's gotten warm again, so we've got flies. It's great. So I think that that's the thing. So back to like balance, progress, not perfection. A lot of it is about making sure that you're making forward progress, but sometimes that forward progress, is only going to be temporary, and that sucks. Sometimes that you're going to have to come back and do this again. It can't be. You just can't do it to a point where it will be forever, because it won't. So that's, and there's some decisions made, like I'm sure you've seen there's a caravan in the background of some of my shots that we bought years and years ago, and the idea was to turn it into a somewhere for like my mum to sleep when she was here, or somewhere a standalone room for Surreal as she got older and things like that. And I bought it sight unseen, which is fine, and I paid a low price for it at the time, and we towed it home and all that. But it's a pop top, and I didn't even realize what a pop top was, but it's a pop top, and the pop top doesn't work very well, and it's too low if you don't have the pop top open, of course, and then the canvas was torn on it. So then there was the whole thing that we needed to remove the pop top, and we were going to put a permanent roof over the top of it, and then we had to move it, so we moved it into a better spot in the yard, and then we got flooding, and the flooding ran all the way under the caravan, and the whole ground just fell out underneath the caravan, and now the caravan's on a significant lean. So then we had to buy a hydraulic jack so that we can then jack it up and put it up on bricks, because then we can clean it up and do all these sorts of things. And again, it's something that just keeps on being waylaid, but we've got this ugly looking caravan sitting in the yard doing nothing that needs a whole lot of work, and it's one of those tasks that just keeps getting put off because it's just not as important as other things, but it's an eyesore. It's like the gardens. So every time I show things and I show progress that we've made in the garden, there's sure to be someone who comments on the fact that it's like, it needs more. You need to be doing this and you need to be doing that. And why haven't you gone? And I just sit there and I go, we've made progress. And there's just not much else that I can do at this moment, and it's going to be a long-term thing. So in regards to being able to do those sorts of things, our days are pretty full too. So like, you know, I get up about 5:30, especially at the moment, because Lamington needs a bottle at 5:30, 5:36. But I get up pretty early because I'm an early riser. Nobody else in the house is an early riser, so I get a couple of hours of work in before everyone else gets up. In summer it's really nice because I can go out in the kitchen. It's nice and warm. At the moment it's still a bit cool. And then everyone gets up, and so the morning before lunchtime is to be chores and project work. Dishes need doing, washing needs done, some sort of a cleaning object type is assigned, as in like bedrooms are done today, or beds are stripped today, or the kitchen's deep cleaned, or whatever. There is some sort of a task associated with each day. We don't assign them in advance. We tend to assign them as they need to be done, because we don't want to do the kitchen on a day that I need to work in the kitchen, things like that. And that happens until lunchtime, and then lunch, everyone has lunch. And then after lunch, there is supposed to be a solid block of schoolwork done, depending on the age of the child. Depends on how long that solid block is and what the schoolwork is. And then they have free time until it's time to feed the animals. And then they feed the animals, we put dishes away, we do dinner, we clear dinner, and then they have free time after that as well. So we have this routine of a day that is still, it's flexible. It's allowed to be flexible because that's the way we live, and we don't have to school only on Monday to Friday, so we can skip days here and there depending on what we've got going on. And Darryl needs to go into town sometimes, and then I'm away for 3 days, once every 2 months for the groceries too, which always throws us off. But by keeping that basic routine, I think it helps us to know where we're sitting as well, and it helps with that balance to know that we, as long as we get those basics done, then we've gotten through the day. That day has been successful because we got those basics done. But then it becomes the hassle of, or the struggle of the actual project work, like building the back deck. And so we're going to get that done within a couple of days, because once you start a project, you tend to keep on going on that project, and that's fine. But it also means that other things get backslid because you have to focus on that. It's like when we put the buildings together, that was like a week worth of work where we couldn't do anything else because we were doing that. So there's a little bit of the balance of that too. But again, I always say, like, I get comments all the time, I don't know how you have enough time to do what I'm doing. And I think a lot of that is that we don't leave the property. Darryl goes into town 2 or 3 times a week to fetch gas can refills or petrol for the generator, or go to the post office or feed store or whatever else, chemist, doctor's appointments, whatever needs doing. But other than that, we barely leave. The kids go to craft mornings, they go to church, I barely leave the property. So, and I don't want to go anywhere. They all go and do what they need to do, and I'm always a static person here getting stuff done. And I think that that's a lot of it. That's how I have the time, is that there is 24 hours in a day, and those 24 hours I'm here, I'm present on the property. Now I go to bed fairly early. I generally go to bed by 9 o'clock because I'm up at 5:30, and Darryl does anything that needs doing later on, but I still have the time, like if I needed to stay up I could and get stuff done and things like that. So I think that that's part of it as well. I think that's part of how we manage the whole health issues as well as the homeschooling, the large family and the homesteading. The other thing about it too is not taking on too much. Like, we have these views to expand in certain ways, and sometimes we have to realize that it's really just not that feasible. We wanted to hatch a whole bunch of extra chicks this year so that we could have some more culling days for processing of them, as well as, you know, create more of pens with the same breeds and things like that, and it hasn't gone quite to plan. I think I've only ended up with about 30 chicks and I wanted to do about the 100. But we've decided to stop. We've decided that that's fine. We're just going to stop now because we don't really have the time to put in. Guinea fowl saying good afternoon. Obviously, it's almost feed time, so they're heading towards the chicken pens to get dinner. It's 4:20, so yeah, it's about that. So yeah, so we decided to stop with that. We were going to put another batch in the incubators and we decided not to. We decided that we were just going to leave it, and we'll look at it again next year because we're already at our limit of things to do and things to get done, and adding another batch of chicks is another 3 weeks of incubating and then another 6 weeks of them being on heat and things like that, and it's, you know, we're not going to do it. So, you know, I think that's a thing too, is that understanding your limits and trying to stay within them. And, you know, you see that meme all the time about it's something along the lines of, you know, I'm overwhelmed, but I just want, you know, a house cow and a bigger garden and a, you know, like all this sort of stuff. Like, that's very accurate in the way that you can feel about how you're. It's like I always say that I don't really feel like I have a homestead as such. We have this barren block of bush that we have a few animals on and things like that, and that it's less a homestead and more just what it is, and that is kind of a homestead sort of thing. So I think there's a big thing about understanding your limits, and everybody's limits are going to be different. And our limits are very different to a lot of, you know, I watch a lot of other YouTubers, and I am members of a lot of homesteading groups and stuff like that. And just the fact that we have 6 children who still, like, you know, are still fairly young, really impacts our ability to do a lot of things and to pursue a lot of things, and our lack of machinery and stuff, because we don't have the funds or the experience with anything like that. So we have very minimal machinery. We've got battery operated stuff and a bit of petrol operated stuff, but no, you know, no tractors and stuff like that. We don't even have we've only got the one vehicle and things like that. So I think you have to be careful not to compare yourself as well. Sometimes I find myself doing it. I sit there and look at some other people and how much they accomplish and all the rest of it, and I sit there and I go, why can't I accomplish that? Why can't I manage to keep a market garden going enough to feed us for the year? Why can't I have enough chickens to process that I don't have to purchase chicken? And then I remember that I'm feeding 8 people, and that we don't have cows or anything like that, and we can't because we don't have pasture, and that buying half a cow is 3 times the price than buying the cheap beef that I buy. And, you know, I know it's not as good quality and all the rest of it, but you have to make your compromises where you have to make your compromises. There's just no choice. So I think there's that whole, you know, not comparing yourself as well, and that's come back into the art and stuff. So the shop is going to launch sometime in the next few days. I will make sure to post it on Facebook, and I'll do a community post, or I'll do another video or something. I'm going to put it up on my Patreon first, live on the Patreon first, so that my patrons have the opportunity to look first. Some stuff is limited stock. Most of the stuff I can access more of if I need to, but some of it is limited stock just because of transport issues and things like that, like getting it here. Oops, was running out of room on my memory card. What what was I saying? So some of it is limited stock, but some of it I can get more of and things like that. Now, the problem of what I was saying when, you know, the comparison factor and things like that is that I did my own artwork for stickers and things like that. And then when I put it all together, I was never happy with it. And then, so last year I was going to release some stuff as well, and I didn't do it because I just sat there and I went, it's not good enough. And then this year I decided, no, stuff that, I'm going to do it because I really want to do it. And I've had my stickers printed. I'll put a quick photo here of one of the stickers, and I've got the transfers for the smoothie cups as well. I've got a photo of that too. These aren't great photos. I haven't taken proper photos yet. And then we do the laser cut family trees. So many years ago I did these family trees, and we sold them when we had this big massive laser engraver that came with the franchises that Darryl had. And I designed the tree, and then I designed the, or I think I got the tree initially as a image and I did it how I needed to do it, and then designed the ability to put all the names on it. We can do up to 20 names on it, and then I use a font, and then I handwrite the names to join it all together and all that. Anyway, these wooden family trees, and we decided that this year we were going to invest in a hobby laser engraver, not a huge outlay, so that we could do these family trees and these Christmas stars and stuff again too. And every step of the way I've been humming and ahhing about them as I do them. Are they good enough? Do I need to change this? Do I need to do that? And I've just gone back to my original because that's what I really liked originally, and so that's what I'm going to do. So there's that comparison factor in so many ways, and it can impact so many different things. It can impact your ability to sell your product that you spend time on, and it can make you super critical of what you're doing. But it does the same thing to the homestead, and to the place that you live, and even YouTube. Like, the amount of weird negativity that you can get on YouTube is just amazing. And I'm sort of like, I'm super grateful for YouTube. I really didn't believe that I was going to ever get to a point where it was going to earn me a great deal of money. It was always just going to be a bit of a but it has really made a significant impact in our budget. And for us, that's not a whole lot of money because we just don't need a whole lot of money. We have very minimal debt, and other than food, we don't spend huge amounts of money, but it has allowed us to do things like buy the laser engraver. My hair is just... Anyway, it has allowed us to do things like buy the laser engraver, which again was only a cheap model, but is still a significant outlay, and the materials to be able to offer these products and things like that. I got some stickers printed and things like that, in the hopes that, hey, it makes us money, but at the same time, it was really nice to do it. It was really nice to have the opportunity to offer this kind of stuff. And then that's the other thing too, is income earning while running a homestead and having large family and homeschooling and being chronically ill and, you know, all these sorts of things. Like, TN doesn't ever go away. The medication helps, but unless I get brain surgery, which is not something that I would do unless it was absolutely dire straits, and definitely not while my children are young, but the success rates on it are pretty low anyway. But I have a few other bits and pieces that, you know, add to it. So now we've got this high blood pressure issue that we're still figuring out, and the blood pressure medication did not agree with me, so we have had to stop that at the moment. But I have some degenerative issues, like I can only see out of one eye, and that one eye has a paresis in it, so it is a fourth nerve paresis, so it lifts slightly, and then the other eye I can't see out of, so it means that I have sort of a haze from that eye. So, you know, there's a few different things. I've got some hearing loss, and, you know, so being able to earn money and still have the homestead was about diversifying as well. So YouTube doesn't make huge amounts of money unless you're really, really big, and I would never want to be really, really big because dealing with people would be really hard. But it's definitely made us more comfortable. And then with the things like the Thermomix, so because I wanted to earn my Thermomix, I decided to be a consultant, and by being a consultant, it means that I sell one every now and again. Some months I sell a few, some months I don't sell any, some months I sell one, and every little bit helps. I still do my transcription typing very minimally though, because they got rid of a whole bunch of work from me a while ago, if anyone remembers that, but I do get a little bit of work from them at the moment, very minimal. And then I do get a little bit of money from the government because we're low income, large family. But the selling of this art product it's going to give me another avenue for income, but it's also going to give me another creative outlet, which is always nice. I'm not very good at relaxing, so being able to do that is going to be pretty amazing. So anyway, this has been a complete and utter squirrel, and I don't know if I've answered any of the actual questions that anyone was after, but I just wanted to do the update because I said I would, about my health and all the rest of it. But I wanted to let you know that the website is now live, so I will put that link in the comments. It's at the same address that it always was, it's just had it full refurb. So, and anyone that signed up to the newsletter previously is still signed up, and I will, when I do the shop launch, I will send out a newsletter. I've never sent one out before. All you people who've signed up for newsletters, and I haven't got around to sending one, but I will do that. And yeah, so I don't know, this has just been a real squirrel sort of a chat to you guys. I probably could have done it as a live, and then when people ask questions it might have been a little bit more succinct, but you know, we did what we did. I just wanted to come out here and have a chat to you and sort of see if I could cover most of those subjects, and ask any questions in the comments and I will try and get to them. I still do try and get to most comments, but I'm definitely not getting to all of them anymore. So let me just take you off the tripod and I will show you the garden bed that we started, and what we're hoping to do for the rest of them as well. So hopefully I covered the stuff that I needed to cover and, you know, didn't ramble too much, but we all know how bad I can squirrel at times, especially when I don't have notes to make sure I'm keeping on track. And I will try and get another video up Sunday, Monday with once we get the shop launched, and we'll see how we go. I really can't guarantee anything at the moment, but I'm hoping that once the shop is launched that I can get away from the admin a little bit. I'm still going to have to make all the product, but of course a lot of the laser engraving and stuff is a set and walk away sort of a thing. Well, not walk too far, but walk away. So anyway, thanks for watching guys, anyone who got through all this, and I will see you on the next video.